Yeah, they said he was suicidal, and he started talking about he wanted to bring a Bible with him or some shit.
Yeah, you heard that right. Julio's killers are losing their minds, and it all went down in court. One of them straight up collapsed after getting slapped with a heavy sentence, and the others, they barely held it together. But here's the wild part. Was it really just the life sentence that broke them? Or is it something way deeper? Word on the street says they're shook, scared out of their minds. Not just because of the time they got, but because they know what's waiting for them behind those prison walls. People say Julio's crew is already inside, and they're not the forgiving type. Let's break this down. Total courtroom chaos. These dudes went from acting tough to straight up folding. It was supposed to be a regular sentencing hearing, but what happened in that Florida courtroom on a sticky June morning had even the bailiff frozen in place. As soon as the judge dropped the hammer, life without parole, one of them just dropped. Body limp, collapsed right there in court, his mother screamed. The guy sobbed like a baby. Another one just stared off into space like he finally got it. He's never seen daylight again. And get this, the dude who supposedly pulled the trigger, he tried to fire his lawyer and rep himself in a case where he could get the death penalty. You read that right. This man thought he could defend himself in a trial that might end with lethal injection. That's not confident, that's panic. But before we show you the full breakdown, you need to know what they did, because this hit shook the whole Florida legal system. Julio Foolio, real name Charles Jones, wasn't just another rapper. He was one of the most controversial voices in Jacksonville. But he was also a son, a brother, a human being. On June 22nd, he was in Tampa just trying to enjoy his birthday. But by the early hours of the 23rd, he was gone. Gunned down in a brutal ambush outside a hotel. Executed in cold blood by 3 men who allegedly tracked him on social media and Jeep. Police said over 30 bullets tore through his car. It was a setup from the jump. Surveillance footage showed the whole thing. 3 shooters moving across the lot like they'd rehearsed it, rifles locked and loaded. They didn't even blink. Julio was in the passenger seat when they let loose. He never had a chance to move.
Let's look at this video. This is at the hotel, and you can see the shooters are getting in position for their planned out murder, and they are shooting at Charles now, and you can see that he's the passenger in that car that's moving and trying to flee. And again, they're still shooting at him. He's the right front passenger in that vehicle.
These suspects weren't sloppy. They were methodical. One of them was allegedly cool with Julio's ex. Then there was Alicia Andrews, a young woman who was reportedly pregnant at the time. She allegedly followed Julio from club to club, texting updates to her people like she was running recon in a war zone. They weren't veteran criminals. They were young, some barely legal. This crew, ages 18 to 30, is now tied to one of the most high-profile rap murders in recent memory.
4 guys, 1 girl. The girl's pregnant currently, which makes it even crazier. One of the guys, when they were arresting him, I guess he had a gun to his head. Did you hear this whole story?
Yeah, they said he was suicidal, and he started talking about he wanted to bring a Bible with him or some shit.
And now, they're in court, facing charges that could lead to lethal injection. The state is not holding back. They're going full force. Now, here's where it gets even crazier. One of the main suspects, Rashad Murphy, decided to go rogue. He fired his lawyer and said he wants to represent himself in a murder trial that could end with the death penalty. His lawyer tried to stop him. The judge warned him, but Rashad wouldn't back down. He even filed a motion for a speedy trial and started writing handwritten letters to the judge, complaining that he was being treated like he was already guilty. He said he couldn't call anyone, couldn't write letters, couldn't prep for trial. He begged for access to legal files. Some say he's playing games, others think he's mentally breaking under the pressure. And honestly, with the evidence stacked against him, it's not hard to see why. Prosecutors dropped bomb after bomb, ring cam footage showing them loading rifles into duffel bags, phone GPS tracking every move Julio made that night.
Well, it's not like they're gonna get off for this.
No, they got so much evidence against them. Like, when you go through it, you can pretty much just, all right, pick a prison. Where do y'all want to go? But it's not, you can't even come up with a defense for them.
Text messages planning it all out in advance. Even bullet casings from the scene matched the guns found in their homes.
They found bullets in that kid's house. They found one of the murder weapons. They found bullets matching from the shooting scene. This kid kept collectibles from the case, like mad inside of his house.
When all this was laid out in court, it was too much. One of the suspects, sitting just feet from Julio's grieving mother, passed out cold. No cameras were allowed to film it, but people in the room say he just slumped out of his chair, trembling and whispering, "I can't breathe." Was it guilt? Was it fear? Or did it finally hit him that he's never getting out? No one knows for sure. But one thing's crystal clear. Those courtroom walls are closing in fast. Let's stop for a second and get real. This ain't just some street beef gone sideways. This is what happens when the internet turns murder into entertainment, where mocking the dead turns into music streams and grieving mothers have to see their kids' names getting dragged in rap songs on YouTube. Julio did it to others, and eventually they did it right back to him. That cycle? It cost 6 lives in different ways. One's in the grave. 5 are staring at prison walls, probably for the rest of their lives. One of them's even expecting a baby, and that child might only get to see their mom through prison glass and the digital trail. Even worse than anyone thought. One of the suspects might have exposed the whole crew just to flex on social media. Clout chasing that could land everyone in a cell for life. So how did this even happen? Prosecutors say this wasn't no random act. It was a fully planned out ambush, like something out of a movie. We're talking about organized tracking, multiple vehicles, long distance travel, and heavy duty rifles. And it didn't start in Tampa, it started back home. Surveillance footage caught the suspects, Rashad Murphy, Diane Murphy, and Sean Gathright, packing up bags big enough to hide rifles in a quiet neighborhood. Those same bags were later confirmed to hold 2 serious assault-style weapons. And get this, they caught it on their own security camera. That's how careless they were.
We have evidence of the defendants, co-defendants, very clearly meeting at Sean Gathwright's house on his video camera where they are loading up big bags that are definitely big enough to hold these assault rifles that were used in this case.
But the creepiest part? Julio's last night was basically live streamed by himself. As he posted birthday celebration clips on Instagram, 2 people, Alicia Andrews and Isaiah Chance, were allegedly playing fake friend while tracking him in real time. From the club and to the after party, all the way to the hotel. The killers didn't roll up right away either. They sat across the street, watching, waiting.
Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his locations several times throughout that night. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation, as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location.
At 4:38 a.m., 3 of them stepped out the ride and walked toward Julio's hotel room. 2 carried rifles, 1 had a handgun. They lit up Julio's SUV with 31 bullets. 3 others inside got hit too, but somehow they survived.
This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident. It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do.
So why'd they do it? What could push 5 people, one of them pregnant, to plan and carry out a public execution like this? According to investigators, it was pure revenge. One of the shooters had a brother known as Spaz, who was reportedly killed by someone in Julio's circle.
I don't think he had nothing to do with the murder though.
No, I mean, it's actually pretty ugly what happened, because one of the suspects, their brother, Spaz, was allegedly killed by one of Foolio's friends.
Yeah.
Foolio rapped about him, and I believe there's a video of him urinating on his grave.
There's multiple videos of Foolio dissing this guy.
Julio didn't just rap about it, he mocked it. He even dropped a video showing someone peeing on Spaz's grave. That ain't a track. That's a threat. That's war, so they packed up and headed to Tampa. Not with bars, but with heat, guns, burner phones, a getaway plan. But here's the kicker. They were sloppy, real sloppy. They basically served the case to cops on a silver platter. Let's run it down. Alicia's phone pinged at every stop Julio made that night, from Jacksonville to Tampa. License plate readers caught the cars during the ambush. Hotel surveillance caught them on camera before and after the hit. Forensics matched bullet casings from the scene to rifles found in Rashad Murphy's house. And if that ain't enough, one suspect even kept shell casings and bullet fragments like they were trophies. Want to know what's worse? The text. Some of the suspects were texting after the shooting like it was something to celebrate. One even said, "I'm coming home, my thirst is finally quenched." That's not just disturbing, it's chilling.
They were caught on license plate cameras. He used his mama's car. His mama said, "I had that car, then my son had it."
Rashad Murphy thought he was smarter than everyone. He left his own phone at home, but still used other people's. Then he went full wild card, asking to be his own lawyer. Even his defense attorney said it was straight up reckless, but Murphy didn't care. He claimed jail conditions were keeping him from preparing for trial. Then he flipped the script again and pulled the insanity card. In November, he said he was going for an insanity defense. But here's the thing. If you planned every move, tracked your target, and covered your steps, that ain't insanity. That's calculated. That defense might already be done before trial even begins. If Murphy keeps playing lawyer, legal experts say he might even throw his co-defendants under the bus, right there in court.
I think this guy's nuts. I think that's why. I mean, he wants to defend himself. difficulty.
And that's exactly why the others are freaking out, especially Alicia Andrews. She's the only one who didn't waive her right to a speedy trial. People in the legal world think she might be cooperating with the prosecution.
And then they just recently did it where the girl isn't waiving her right to a speedy trial, and they believe she's gonna cooperate.
Right. Actually, one of my members, Kilcon RL, mentioned that. He said Alicia Andrews, who's the girl who's pregnant, she asked for a speedy trial, but the other three waived that. So yeah, I guess that means she's cooperating now.
And honestly, that would make sense. She's young, she's pregnant. She might be thinking about the future, and if she flips, this whole case could explode. Things are falling apart fast. But trust, this story ain't done yet. Behind those jail walls, it's full-on panic mode. As soon as prosecutors laid their evidence out, one thing became clear: somebody had already cracked. And early courtroom whispers were all pointing to one name: Alicia Andrews. At just 21 years old and pregnant during the murder, Alicia was facing the exact same first-degree murder charges as the men accused of pulling the trigger. But unlike them, she made one bold move that had everyone side-eyeing her. She demanded a speedy trial. And for those who know how the game works, that's usually not just a legal play, and that's a loud message, a warning, a sign that she might be talking. But what confirmed it wasn't just legal strategy. It was what she did right after getting arrested. Andrews gave a full-on police interview. She didn't hold back. She admitted she was there. She confirmed how the crew moved across Tampa that night. She didn't name the shooter, but she dropped enough detail to stitch the timeline together perfectly. That's all the prosecutors needed. From there, investigators pulled up her GPS data, tracked her movements from club to the Airbnb, and finally to the hotel where Foolio was killed. Alicia may not have fired a single shot, but she allegedly played lookout the whole night, feeding her crew updates, guiding them like she was on a mission. It was like some tactical op, only way more reckless and tragic. But prosecutors didn't stop with Alicia. The court just approved something that's got defense lawyers shaking. They can now bring up past gang-related killings as evidence.
I do find, generally speaking, that this is evidence that does help create motive and intent and explain the crimes charged.
That means they're officially linking Foolio's murder to a whole war that's been brewing for years. And the reason? Prosecutors say this hit wasn't random. It was the final chapter in a deadly feud between three of Jacksonville's most feared street crews, 6 Block, AT, and 1200. This wasn't just rap beef, this was real bloodshed. Disrespecting the music got answered in real life with graves. Alicia's boyfriend was allegedly connected to one of those rival groups. One of the shooters had lost his brother in this same street war. That brother? His grave was disrespected in one of Foolio's music videos. The judge allowed all of that into court to show motive.
This is something in Jacksonville that is very well known. These videos, both by our victim as well as by the rival gangs, are posted immediately. It's in the public domain, and it details this long-standing feud.
But here's the wild part. Some of the suspects gave themselves up without even realizing it. Let's talk about Rashad Murphy again. You already know he tried to ditch his lawyer, claim insanity, and rep himself in a death penalty case. But what really stunned prosecutors was the stuff he left behind. Surveillance cameras from his own house caught him and the other suspects loading up bags big enough to hide the same rifles used in the murder. That alone was bad. But it gets worse. Rashad tried to be slick, left his own phone at home, but guess what? He still used everybody else's devices. Phones the state subpoenaed, phones that tracked every single stop in Tampa. One of the crew even paid for stuff using a Cash App card. Police traced the payments and even grabbed the IP addresses, and the car, the one they used that night, it was Rashad's mom's. Surveillance caught it near the scene. And when police asked her about it, she didn't lie. She confirmed it. Yeah, my son had it that night. Boom. Game over. But maybe the most chilling piece of all. After the shooting, one of the suspects allegedly sent out a text that read, "I'm coming home, my thirst is finally quenched."
That's the same guy who, after the murder, allegedly sent out a text, "I'm coming home, my thirst is finally quenched." Like, it was a mission for him. So, I mean, if we're talking about motive, that's classic get back, right? Hey, his people did something to my brother. They kept laughing about it. They've desecrated his gravesite. This is a rapper who's been known to make videos at gravesite or laugh at the dead. Now we get to laugh at it.
That's not just bragging. That's a confession in plain sight. This wasn't just a one-night tragedy. It's part of something way bigger. A culture that turned murder into content, funerals into promotion, and pain into entertainment. Foolio was part of it too. He dissed the dead in his music, and others followed that same path. Now, they're all paying the price. He mocked his dead rivals, shot music videos at their graves. But by doing that, he lit a fuse that blew up in his own face, leaving his name on a toe tag. One of the shooters, just 18, already tied to other alleged shootings going back to when he was 17. How does a kid go from live streaming on Twitch to loading rifles for an ambush? Cops never had a real shot at stopping it. That's the real tragedy. This whole thing could have been prevented. Social media became the new street battleground. Instead of back alleys and corner blocks, threats came through Instagram caption, and revenge was measured in views and likes. Now Florida law enforcement is on high alert. They don't think it's over. There are still people out there with guns, with scores to settle, and with new martyrs to ride for. But the state is done watching. They want this case to set the tone. From rap clout to life behind bars. This is what happens when you gamble with your future and lose. When the Hillsborough County prosecutors rolled out the defendants one by one to face judgment, reporters said it felt like a straight-up reckoning, not just a court date. These weren't just mugshots and charges. These were young men watching their entire futures disappear. Sean Gathright, just 18, stood in front of the judge getting told he'd spend the rest of his life in a cell. At first, no emotion. But then came the evidence. Camera footage, gun forensics, text messages, receipts all lined up against him like bricks in a wall. Witnesses said he eventually slouched forward, eyes glued to the floor, whispering to himself again and again, "I ain't kill him, I ain't kill him." But in Florida, it doesn't matter who pulled the trigger. If you helped plan the murder, even if you never touched the gun, you're just as guilty. And Sean, he was caught on video getting ready for the ambush. That was all prosecutors needed. Then came Rashad Murphy, and he stole the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. When court opened up, Rashad made a move no one saw coming. He fired his lawyer, again. This is a man staring down a possible death sentence, and yet he thought he could defend himself in one of the most serious trials the state had seen in years. Judges warned him. His own attorney begged him to stop. Even the prosecutor told him flat out, "This is a disaster." But Rashad didn't care. He said jail conditions were unfair, that he couldn't call people, couldn't mail letters, couldn't even look at legal files. In a handwritten note to the judge, he said he was being treated like he was already guilty. He claimed the deputies wouldn't let him prep for trial and the system was already crushing him, but the courtroom wasn't buying it, especially not in a death penalty case. To stand trial in Florida, you have to be declared mentally fit, and Rashad, he wasn't helping himself. Earlier, he'd said he was considering an insanity plea after helping plan what prosecutors called one of the most calculated murders they'd ever seen. That contradiction alone could have killed any shot at mercy, but then came the moment that shut the room down. As Rashad stood there trying to argue his own defense, he froze. His knees buckled. He dropped, collapsed on the courtroom floor. One bailiff ran over, another called in a medic. His mother screamed from the gallery. The judge called a quick recess. No cameras caught it, but multiple people in the courtroom saw it with their own eyes. One of Julio's killers had finally cracked. He lay there trembling, sobbing, crushed under the reality of what a life sentence really means. Meanwhile, Julio's mother sat quiet in the front row. She'd heard it all, watched people online blame her son, call him the reason for his own death. But when asked later, she simply said, "He was still my son. He didn't deserve to die, not on his birthday." She'd seen the footage, seen the online disrespect, heard the lyrics and watched the mocking posts. And at the end of it all, the only thing left to cling to was the courtroom, justice.
And let's not lose sight of the fact that there are innocent victims in every homicide case, the loved ones who are left behind. His fans knew him as Julio Foolio, but to his mom, he's Charles. We're fighting to make sure that she gets justice.
But even that felt cold, because what no one wants to talk about, what doesn't trend or go viral, is what comes after the guns go quiet. After the sentencing, when the cameras stop rolling and the crowd fades out, the real pain begins. That's when mothers go home alone, replaying those courtroom scenes and surveillance clips over and over in their heads. That's when a kid grows up visiting his mom through thick glass, all because she followed someone chasing clout with a gun in his hand. This case is the blueprint of a modern-day tragedy. Clout killed Julio. Blind loyalty buried the suspects. And TikTok? It turned all of it into trending content. But there's one more layer, and it's ice cold. Investigators now believe Youngin Ace, Julio's most known rap rival, may have known about the murder as it happened. In a shocking twist, DJ Academics revealed that while police were raiding suspects' homes, he was mid-interview with Ace.
The moment Youngin Ace was sitting with me for the interview, the cops were raiding the guys. The exact moment. Everybody who got locked up for the murder, the 3 simultaneous arrests, happened exactly when he's talking to me. And I think, I don't know what his perspective is now, but his perspective is then, and maybe he just doesn't know anything. He was like, ain't nothing gonna come of this.
Let that sink in. The very second police made their move, Ace was on live stream, and what was sitting on the table next to him? A bottle of Don Julio, his drink of choice. Whether it was pure coincidence or some twisted message, everyone noticed. The internet lit up. Julio toasted online with Don Julio. So now, we wait. The trials are far from over. Alicia Andrews is expected to be the first to face a jury this year. Whether she takes the stand or flips completely is still unknown. Rashad Murphy's solo courtroom stunt might crash and burn or end in a last-minute plea deal. But the gang war that sparked all this, it's not over. Police are already on high alert, bracing for what could come next.
I mean, unfortunately, I think young people think this is a game. And, there'll be comments about this in the statement that I make, and they make it like it's a video game. It's not. This is real life. So he has a mother, he has parents, siblings, probably friends. And they have to deal with these kind of losses, and it's unfortunate. Now the next thing is these groups, I won't name them, they know who they are. We're not going to tolerate any retribution, any revenge. We're going to watch. We're going to be around paying attention to what's going on, but it's unfortunate. It should never happen to our kids. And I've never seen so much devaluing of human life. It's like it's fun, and they talk about it in rap videos and songs, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Retaliation's in the air, streets are tense. As one sheriff put it, this was never about rap. It was about power, revenge, ego, and who gets the last post. The courtroom may have spoken, but in this world, music videos double as murder files, diaries are on Instagram stories, and funerals, they're streamed like concerts. If you made it this far, you already know this story's bigger than just one case. So drop a like, leave a comment, share this with someone who needs to hear the truth, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll keep following every twist as it unfolds. See you on the next one.